Hey, my name is Deriv'era and the game of my childhood, F.E.A.R. Without any add-ons, the way how it was meant to be played back in 2005. In those days, industry was dropping epics on us each year. 2003, Max Payne 2. 2004, Half-Life 2. 2005, F.E.A.R. And I'm only counting FPS games. I don't mention Oblivion, for example, or Knights of the Old Republic or Silent Hill 3. So install the ISO, and we see a menu with some music. This is how the original American version installer of the game looks. The game forces me to read the agreement, or at least to scroll it down to pretend like I read it. You can also print the agreement so you can read it physically and know for sure that you can't break the protection of this game. Then game asks for CDK and I have one, and I will need to install DirectX 9C. What's funny about, even if it's the latest DirectX 9C version, game uses shader model 2, when shader model 3 started to be available since version 9C. 9B used model 2B. It's not so easy to say why exactly. Maybe dev team started to develop the game with older DirectX version, or Model 2 worked better on old hardware cause it's less complex. I played this game on my AMD Radeon 9100 with 64 megabytes of RAM and without shadows, and it worked. Let's say somehow it worked. Well, it was terrible actually. Later I bought 7600 Geforce and it was so much better, and that's where I actually finally enjoyed all of the stuff that F.E.A.R offered. So installation process of this game is long and time consuming, most likely cause game files are archived, so my Pentium dual core needs some time to unpack all 5 CDs. The first release wasn't on DVDs. I'm not going to install any patches to have a full experience, and I need to say that patched game on Steam works better. At least you will have support for variety of resolutions. And the only reason I'm using this ISO as well, no Steam on Windows XP, and yeah, exactly to have none of these patches, cause I and many other people played this game as you'll see it. Late era of DirectX 9 is magical, to say the least. Vista with DirectX 10 will be released only in 2007, and retro Windows XP compatible hardware of the time, before Vista and Windows 7, was pushed to the limit somewhere around 2006-2005. The engine of F.E.A.R was one of a kind, created specifically for FPS games, and you will notice it well. I think it was completely incapable of drawing open scenery, but back in the days it was pretty common. And if compared to Half-Life 2 that came earlier, well, we need to play this one old Windows XP version first of Half-Life 2 to do a good comparison, because in my memory Half-Life 2 looked stunning. But I think I mostly remember it by playing on more modern hardware in better versions. And yeah, Half-Life 2 had a lot of open scenes. It feels that Half-Life 2 is superior as the game, and F.E.A.R didn't become a cult, and series was killed by future releases when Valve actually cared a bit more about what they do with their games. So I don't want to do a mistake by saying that Source Engine in Half-Life 2 was better without taking a look on the original game at its start. The game doesn't start with CD in virtual drive and requires some magic pill. So let me do a trick in the background and we will jump straight into the game. Warns you of what you will encounter. Sierra. What's funny about Sierra, before the era of internet I actually didn't know a thing what they do with games actually and what Sierra is about. But yeah, it's a publisher. Monolith. I like how their logo looks, but it's totally non-memorable design, and it's sad cause Monolith has created a lot of cool games and they have undeniable forever respect, so buy F.E.A.R on Steam and play if you didn't to this moment. I was surprised by seeing Warner Bros. Here, but they seems to be just a publisher in some areas, and best logo of Nvidia was around Windows XP era. To this day it brings me joy, unlike modern Nvidia. So, settings. Let's try to change resolution, and there are only 3 options and no widescreen support at all. That was later fixed by patches, and let me actually do a magic trick in my editing software and do 4:3. I played with stage picture, cause I really like widescreen actually, and I have got my widescreen display pretty early in my well, it was already my teen years actually. For 660 Ti, game decided to set up the almost highest quality mode. For some reason, FSAA and soft shadows were disabled. Maybe they implemented this cool stuff for future generations, I don't know. Let's take Jupiter X, it's really hard to pronounce, but I'm trying. Game engine that F.E.A.R uses, developed by Monolith themselves. What's funny, engine existed until 2017 and was used in Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, released in 2014, and later was renamed to Firebird and completely remade. Lead tech also was used in my another favorite game, Aliens vs Predator 2. Well, also developed by Monolith. I'll play with high difficulty. The thing is about such games, high difficulty might be the correct one to play, like normal one, or it could be a total nightmare. You won't be able to beat. In 2002, the US Army formed a secret unit dedicated to combating paranormal threats to national security. There will be spoilers. Well, I'm going fully through the game, be aware. The unit was named First Encounter Assault Recon, Sierra, Monolith Productions. The biggest problem is all these people in intro and overall in the game, they are just decorations walking around, pretty harmless and not very dangerous. They don't pierce you like real nightmares like in Silent Hill series, like 3 first games actually. They just exist and not really believable, not very well written, and yeah, still, intro is epic, don't you agree? It's very well made. And the personality of your brother is, well, you see, to eat random people, to consume their flesh for no practical reason. I think he's just doing this for fun. I can't explain it else. Yeah, through the whole story, he is being philosophical and philosophically eating people and walking behind doorways. He really likes it, to show his presence and disappear. They all really enjoy walking behind doorways. Actually, Alma, your mother, is doing this as well. And name of your brother is Fatal, by the way, and I will stalk him through the whole game. And first thing first, I need to change sensitivity of my mouse, because for some reason old games really thought that you won't slightly move your mouse and turn around completely on 360 degrees. because, well, this game was actually released on Xbox 360. Maybe it makes sense actually. And again, I'm changing sensitivity because it's still too high. And I also want to change controls because old control scheme actually wasn't quite right, or it's particularly this game, I'm not sure, but they made it just unusable. What I really disliked by being spoiled by modern games, precise shooting doesn't use sights on the weapon. Instead, weapon just moves a bit and your camera zooms in. And it feels very disturbing, actually, in terms of how game feels. And I'm really trying to hit this wood with melee attack. Yeah, it's really not so easy. What is soft shadows? It's still a mystery to me, to be honest. Technically, soft shadows may be one of two things. Edges of shadows might not be sharp by softened everywhere. Other option, shadow is sharper to the source and softer when it's on the distance, so like in real life, but it's made real time, not just some baked shadow maps. But to be fair, I don't see either of two. Some lights uses textures that they apply as a light on the ground, but it's not soft light, it's just a texture on the light. It's a different thing a bit.
Hey bro, what took you so long?
Guy behind the doorway, and here guy disappears, and you will see it a lot.
The dead man's name was Charles Haberger. I remember him. But are the memories mine or hers? It makes no difference. He deserved to die. They all deserve to die.
So basically, Fatal says it's a revenge, because someone deserves to die because of the stuff they did. But the problem is, it's not very scary plot or idea or like thing in general. They tell you the motivation from the start, and during the storyline just show why they want revenge so much and why they are so psychotic. You, as a soldier and a relative of Fatal, actually have no sympathy to anyone. So you psychopath. You don't say a word and you don't care about anyone. And this kills the immersiveness of the story in the root and in its guts, because completely unrealistic in all possible ways. Game has some upgrade systems that presented early. It's not a bad thing, not a good thing, but if you want useful collectibles, here they are. Mostly they play on perception to notice something you can pick up. Well, you notice a place where they could be hidden. On the other side, there is no challenges to get them. And it sucks a bit, because it may have added variety to the gameplay, and it didn't.
Come on, we ain't got all day.
If you don't like it, man, do it yourself. Oh, journals with guys, why not? Tell me F.E.A.R isn't woke. God, I will be eaten for this joke. I checked many journals in my playthrough, and I need to say, there are only guys. So it's in some way pretty gay game, actually. There are quite few women, and one woman that is kind of part of the plot, she will be eaten. Yes, right. Alma burns them all. That's our mother, by the way, by the storyline, because she is mother of Fetus, and we play as brother of Fetus. And no, she is older now, but she is still using her young astral projection or avatar or whatever to kill people. And the fact that we are her child protects us from being killed, there is like not a big mystery, because at some point Fetal will just mention that you re his brother. Hey, hello, one of few friendly NPCs you can kill, and only with several shots. For some reason he isn't dying from first one, even if he is just a construction worker. Game doesn't allow you to kill NPCs further, no matter how you want it. This guy scared me, but his tactical position wasn't very tactical. By the way, you can lean out of corners. Guess how useful it is? Well, probably it's nice to have, but I used it twice in my playthrough. Maybe if play on maximum difficulty, it will become useful, but on high difficulty, it's not very useful. Someone threw the body. Reaction, yeah. Shoot everything that moves by reflexes. Auto pickup works only if you really closely step onto the weapon. But you can pick up with pointing and pressing F as well, like action button. Why? I don't know. Why not to collect ammo on maximum G distance just by default? And if I recall, they didn't fix it with patches. F.E.A.R feels in some moments like a game that tries to innovate a lot in all fields. Even in fields where it's completely unnecessary and, well, it's like a pack of innovations, but they are randomly useful or useless or bad. Some Half-Life moments I feel F.E.A.R sometimes make certain things just because Half-Life 2 had them and F.E.A.R doesn't want to look worse than Half-Life 2. What about gunplay? We actually didn't discuss the most important part of the shooter mechanics. We are playing shooter after all. And here I have pretty mixed feelings. From one side, it's definitely better than many games. At least it brings joy when you shoot clones without personality. Still talk as people who have it, but well, whatever. Weapons are different and each handles differently and it's well made. But something is always feels off. Muzzle fire is being shown only on some bullets, not on all of them. That's the strangest idea and solution. I don't really understand why it was implemented this way. And some enemies die from few shots, some require more, without visible reason to be this way. Sometimes it feels just awkward because you don't understand why you kill someone fast and someone slowly. But overall, if I will need to rate gunplay and such stuff, for game of F.E.A.R, I will put it 9 out of from 10, and how it feels now I will put like 5 even or 4, because yeah, gunplay in modern standards is quite outdated. Particles are really well made, there are a lot of them. Shattered glass looks really cool and affected by physics. Other magazine with guys and small platforming session. I noticed also that game uses a lot of two-floor sections for battle situations. More you play, more you notice this trick, where devs moves battle from 2 dimensions architecture of levels to 3 with floors. If someone is learning level design, well, this game is definitely to take a look at, simply because AI of the enemies wouldn't shine here without clever level design. And AI together with level design make this game so good. Other guy in a hallway. Yet another one idea I can share. Other thing, levels are unrealistic. They're created just to satisfy gameplay and level architecture. I personally think Half-Life, boss parts, had much more believable levels, and you don't notice it consciously until you take a look, but I think subconsciously you see it and it decreases how deeply you feel everything that happens. Does this game needs a better story? And is it possible? Yeah, Half-Life 2, I mentioned it previously because it's an example of a storyline that was interesting and shooter mechanics that were interesting and well done as well. F.E.A.R has a lot of places where devs could have presented the story, but instead, yeah, there are guys in the doorways, right? And not only Fatal sometimes is just random people that just walking in the hallway. Sometimes I really don't get it. And there are grandpas that you will need to shoot. Very angry grandpas that pretend to be demons in the shelf or outside of the shelf. But man, we will meet them soon. I just can't stop thinking about grandpas. It's a trauma. Fear inflicted. So, we're real life because we're special. Guess now, how much will this fact affect the storyline? Yeah, story here isn't the strongest part, and I don't get why. For Half-Life, Valve hired a professional writer. Was it that difficult to do the same for F.E.A.R? Especially when you're creating such a nice AAA project. How many limitations did DirectX 9 had compared to DirectX 10? Well, I think it's them for another video. Quite a long video actually, but in short, DirectX 9 has 256 registers, 4 floating point numbers each. If you are far from programming and such stuff, just take my word as granted, it's not very much. To put a matrix into registers, it's pretty common for game graphics to use matrices. You need 4 registers, cause 4-on-4 matrix consists of 16 floating point numbers. So DirectX 9 shader is capable of operating of 64 matrices per draw call. Now imagine that each bone in the body of human model in the game requires 1 matrix, and each light to build a shadow requires at least 1 matrix plus additional information. So DirectX 9 shaders were simply incapable of processing of complex models with complex lights because they didn't fit required information, and it is not because all GPUs were slow, it simply can't do it. DirectX 10 on the other hand has 1024 registers and a lot of other additional features that are useful but not really required to do just a good rendering pipeline. In other words, DirectX 9 is capable but limited, and to use its full potential, developers really needed to manage resources. Other interesting fact, there are 3 main types of light, well overall in game engines: directional, spot and omni. Directional requires 1 matrix per cascade. Cascades are like several shadows of different quality. Short distance from viewer has the most information density, so they look well, and far are just stretched, so they look blurry because they have less information per square bunch of pixels. Hope it makes sense. I mean my explanation. Each cascade requires 1 matrix. I didn't notice anywhere F.E.A.R using this type of lights. Second is spotlights, basically a cone of light. They require 1 matrix and 1 shadow texture. Amount of textures is important as well. DirectX 9 allows only 16 per draw call of the shader, so per model, in other words, but it usually isn't a big limit. You can pretty safely squeeze 8 lights into 1 model, and Omni Light is the most difficult in terms of shadows, because to draw shadows of an Omni, you need to build 6 matrices and send it to the shader, to the video card, for 6 sides of the cube, and build a shadow cube texture you will use to calculate shadows. It's a lot of information. And if you somewhere notice usage of Omni Lights, like for flames, in F.E.A.R, they all have no shadows, or somehow done as spotlights. Game provides you a huge amount of medkits, and if you think it will slow down, no, actually to the almost to far end you will have a lot of medkits. There will be quite few spots where you will have problems with them, but it's more random or my personal stupidity. Game rains medkits on you, so you will definitely have no problems with having them all the time. It's almost impossible to run out of them. The game has few moments where you need to play with physics, and you know where my thought process is heading. To show that F.E.A.R is capable of physics, as well as one other game. What's funny, actually it's not. Level of physics puzzles in Half-Life 2 is completely different. F.E.A.R has, well, it has chairs that rotate, also they make you stuck. Same as trash packets and other small obstacles like street cones. Some boxes and liquids that you can't actually move, but they are far away from making complete complex puzzles, so yeah. Some chairs have flashlights on them sometimes just to show engine capabilities. I fully believe it's designed this way only for that. Monoliths really flexed with their lighting. Only a few of easy puzzles in the game is set, cause I see a lot of potential. It's like ideas are made, but not made to their at least 80%. Enemies, as you can imagine, clones aren't very different, and yeah, game has huge problems with variety of enemies. And new enemies are teased and shown almost like some kind of mini-bosses, and later they become a regular enemy. I assume developers added nail gun just to finally nail enemies to the walls. Well, that's fun, true, won't deny. When enemy is nailed by one bolt, you can't nail his different parts. Other limitation on physics engine or just not much attention to details. NPCs that you can't kill. I really hate it in games. I really praise games that allow you to have a choice, even if one of choices is game over. Guys hanging out together, I think, with these bodies on the walls, I successfully create more disturbing horror than some parts of the game. Sometimes I forget where I killed people, and while backtracking, it feels like game starting to tell the story through environment, even if it's an environment that I have created myself, yeah. But when F.E.A.R actually does it, it's usually just blood and corpses, sadly. Look, it's boss helicopter. In Half-Life 2 you have a helicopter that blocks your way a lot. In F.E.A.R, Heli is throwing enemies at you as well, but doesn't shoot, and this F.E.A.R copter is actually the sign of really terrible game design and plot overall. So Monolith, you tease a helicopter. I know this game was created 20 years ago, but let me talk to people who want to put a helicopter into their games. It's my personal pain. Anyone seeing a helicopter expects helicopter boss fight. And don't tell me that people in 2005 were already tired of helicopter boss fights. If you tease a helicopter, you should have a nice helicopter boss fight. Even RPGs like Mass Effect had helicopter boss fights. And more I think, more I understand how many problems F.E.A.R has. It's just so rare to have such games like F.E.A.R in our lives, so we enjoy them despite those problems. There are not many horror shooters out there. The closest rival is like Cry Fear, that 5 years younger actually, also is a free game. Singularity is close but not really horror, and what's funny is Singularity is Windows XP game as well. Will be nice to revisit it one day. Well, you can find some probably, but F.E.A.R is F.E.A.R. This guy you will hate. He was basically added to make player to hate him because, well, he will be an S. All NPCs here aside of your unit, Delta I mean, are mostly S's. It feels like by the plot itself, game tries to kill any empathy in you towards anyone here, including our protagonist, because he basically hunts his brother without an option to turn your guns against people who wants Alma and Fatal dead. He's just doing his job as a perfect soldier without emotions, so he's not reacting on Fatal being his brother at all. It makes total sense only if he is the same psychopath as Fatal. Anyway, I like that F.E.A.R adds some comedy. Comedy was presented in a lot of other horror games. And one of pillars of horror is show calm waters before you throw player deeper into the nightmare. Silent Hill uses it a lot. And by the way, this engineer as well has magazine with guys just saying turrets. This guy is a villain, obviously. It was obvious from the start. You can destroy turrets or find a way to disable them one by one. Here I spent a lot of medkits simply cause I didn't realize you can avoid shooting them, so I just destroyed them and spent a lot of medkits, yeah. At least with ammo there are no problems, and it's nice that games allows you to choose your path how to solve some of the problems that you meet. Heavy guys with rockets, they're pretty disappointing. To give player a chance, they miss it all the time. This is a girl we need to rescue. Thanks Mother of Dragons, as this part of the game is short and not very rich on mechanics as well, cause it's an escort mission. I won't say escort missions are bad. They are bad when done poorly, and mostly they are done poorly. Here it's pretty simple, and this girl has a pretty bad character, yes. Also, her father is kind of a bad guy. I don't know how many people feel sympathy to her. I have none. She is just a rich ass with evil father. But I did my part. I tried to escort her, and she just did her thing, went after her father to the bunker with Alma and Fatal, because she cares about Papa. I want to introduce you. Something I will never forget about this game. Grand Pass. To this moment, I try to comprehend why they did it exactly this way. Without many animations, they touch you, reduce health and disappear. Why? And if you think it's a rare occasion when you meet them, no, they are far from rare. Grand Pass are an iconic and the most important part of F.E.A.R. Something about them is really not right, so it makes them good. Helicopter again, and you Yes, it's crashing. Helicopter crash is never a bad thing. Later Call of Duty just did it again 100 more times and it still looks nice. And it brings us to some kind of remake of first levels of Tenka. I mean, really, we are in some kind of hotel with heavy hand cannon. Will game surprise us further? Yeah, with some selection of new weapons mostly. This will be rocket launcher, energy sniper rifle and hand cannon. And there are the worst weapons of this game. You need really to try to kill people with rocket launcher. It has no damage, literally. Hand cannon doesn't one-shot even simple guys and has a poor accuracy and apply damage to you if you hit too close. Energy sniper rifle on the other hand one-shots. Yeah, but it's one of the most boring weapons in the game because it's not fun to use. These 3 weapons make overall armor very inconsistent. Like devs needed to add them, because all good shooters need to have such guns. At the same time, they didn't find the right spot. Why energy gun is boring if you ask me? Well, the problem is that first weapons actually was already good enough and there are no enemies that you need to kill with these new weapons. Basically, they just changed weapons a bit, gave you options that are not so good and you would be fine with weapons from the start of the game, same as weapons from the end of the game. So I think it even sounds pretty unbalanced. Why energy gun is boring if you ask me? Well, it really needs to be shot in a slow time, and slow time is another problem. You see, F.E.A.R is a fast game and it's so fast with fast enemies. Devs needed to somehow slow it down so player can somehow shoot enemies in difficult situation. It feels like the simplest solution is to add time slowdown. Slow time was a popular feature since Max Payne introduced it, so no doubt why not to use it in F.E.A.R. But the problem is slowing time changes the speed of the gameplay, and with rapid weapons it's okay not to use slow time ability, but with recoil of sniper rifle you need to lay good shots or you give enemy too much time to shoot you. And if you missed, in slow time recoil becomes even slower and longer. You wait, then do a second shot. And I hate this waiting, when adrenaline of the battle pumps, the gamer wins. So I would say implementing this gun this way wasn't the best idea. There are really few grounds where you can even use it, and these grounds are limited by the nature of the engine. Cannon is just fun but useless. What's even funnier, enemy barely can hit you with it probably to balance it out, because enemies need to give you a chance in a good game, because games are created for entertainment, you know, and probably Cannon is a gun purely for entertainment. And yeah, that's also a problem because on high difficulty, maybe they just didn't balance it for high difficulty, I don't know. Brother found someone to eat. I don't understand how so many people fits into him. He is basically eating everyone. He has bottomless stomach, probably. Television that shows us some interesting picture. I just want to ask, why there are so few moments of such storytelling? It looks awesome, even if someone walks from one side to another yet another time. But now on the screen, on all channels, it's just aesthetically right, and I like this moment. Postcards that you need to avoid in automatic slow timing, yes, 100% I died. Overall game is full of scripted events. The problem isn't in the amount is perfectly balanced. And problem is not that game has bad parity of shooting and observing. It's totally fine as well. Game lacks some depth in events. They are very usual, so to say, or they are not done to their maximum. Like you remember cars in Half-Life 2. At some point you get ability to destroy them with rockets, and here it just falls from the building on its own. You feel like decoration, and that's bad. They tease cool stuff, but then just, well, cool stuff disappears. Same was with helicopter. They tease Grand Pass and all you get is Grand Pass. Grand Pass are unlimited, and that's good. And finally, we are close to the entrance to the bunker, in the hunt of our brother Fetal. All the time I try to call him Fetus, I think I even did this already. From time to time, the game has moments where it almost feels like you're close to some epic battles. You have armories, you have weapons laying around, grenades, medkits, and then nothing happens. Long ago, it's already became a common gameplay move to give awesome stuff before an epic battle. So, to let the player prepare to enjoy some epic moments in the end of the game, because we're in the end of the game already. F.E.A.R. Is it lack of funding or what? I still love you despite all of the pain and disappointment. Invisible guys. Well, when you learn how to kill them, they're pretty boring. So boring I forgot even to tell you about them. Well, they're just invisible. But cool shaders that actually disturb space behind the model. It's like drawing a model, but with the usage of texture that you rendered in previous phase. It would be a very common shader in modern Unreal Engine, but for old DirectX 9 it was something completely new. I think it was even possible with DirectX 8, but video cards of DirectX 8 era were too slow to implement such tricks. Besides, you need to hold two full screen textures in memory, so it's like additional full screen buffer when you have less than 64 megabytes of memory. In World of Rendering, you can't read the texture and write to it at the same time, so basically you render from texture A to texture B with the new model, then from texture B to texture A with second model, and so far.
Do you really think you can get rid of the evidence by shredding documents and wiping hard drives? Geforce dug her own grave, and she's going to have to make herself comfortable in it. Don't be a fucking lapdog and jump in after her.
So, Project Origin is trying to destroy all the evidence of their illegal experiments, and the guy on the screen is actually a director, doctor, top manager, owner, and top researcher or something like this. Well, you got the idea about him and his unhuman experiments on Alma. His name is Wade, and he is Alma's father, so he is our relative. In other words, it's a family drama. It's really, the whole game is about family. Family connections, family betrayals. Even the girls that we tried to save actually were our sister. No, our aunt. So Wade is our grandpa, to be precise. Grandpas. Here it goes, our guy again. And here he dies, killed by Wade. Well, what else to expect from evil guy? Not really killed. He got shot in his lungs or hurt and still talking, but it looked like he actually was shot into his head, but well, you know, bullets in this game are not really physically accurate. So we divert power to the door, and we are in the bunker. Finally place where our mother is held. Some Star Wars fights came to the game. What Star Wars do in the horror? I don't know, but these guys are more precise than stormtroopers. At least there are few of them, and I really like the devs didn't overuse boring enemies. They put only a few, so I can't complain. Okay, Star Wars, why not? Bunker basically looks like a high-tech research lab, and I'm not sure what to add here. I have a feeling that ability to see all of these hallucinations is actually our own paranormal abilities. Because we see Fatal with the girl and it's like happened past. This means we can see past we didn't see ourselves, so we are paranormal since we are son of Alma, actually first son of Alma, and brother of Fatal. That's the only conclusion I have, because I don't think that Alma projects such hallucinations on us, like why? So it's our own abilities. And here comes Grandpa's attack. Fatal is very willless. He tells us who we are. We need to remember, we need to understand, but he doesn't push us to do something. He exists and that's it. He is just doing what he feels he needs to do, without any power to actually live his life. He doesn't have his own life. He is fully connected to Alma, and as I understand, they share memories and thoughts. He lives for his mother, and he was actually created this way. I'm not sure what kind of experiments could have created Alma, and was actually she born randomly, or was she a result of experiments? But Fatal was an experiment. Well, we kill Fatal in the most boring way. He says he will set her free, but there is a plot twist, and all the clones lost the will that controlled them. Do you think game gives you weapons this way cause it prepares you to some final fight? I mean, when you kill these clones. Well, if you think so, you didn't learn anything. Finally, we get some truth about Alma.
She was a very disturbed child. Terrible, debilitating nightmares, hallucinations, hysteria. She never had a chance at a normal life. It was Disler who realized she was telepathic. He speculated that she was extremely sensitive to the negative emotions of people
bad guy tries to kill Alma or tries to release her. Actually, I'm still not sure what he was doing. And he tries to do something and dies, of course. Alma slowly walks to you in her different avatars. For some reason, she basically kills all of her relatives aside of you. And she was able to prevent you killing Fatal. She didn't, so basically you're the only person Alma wants to be alive, maybe. Or she is just psychotic because she has such a story. I'm not even sure what could be in her head. She even cosplays Golem for a moment. Well, if she is our mother, she should have some mother feelings. Well, she has some mother feelings. She lets us live. But I would like her to show more. But the only way she shows it, well, yeah, she doesn't kill us. Thanks at least for that. So we need to destroy 4 nuclear cores now to destroy the entire facility and Alma with it, cause she is too powerful to stop her in any other way. And after that we need to run away fighting enormous amounts of Grand Pass. So I want to have some conclusion here during our way to the surface. Was playing this game the same experience as it was before for me as a teen? Definitely no. Game feels like outdated. Game has a lot of problems I couldn't see in past. When I first played F.E.A.R, I played it twice in a row. From the start to the end, it was one of those games for me I just couldn't get myself out. But today I play too many games and I'm a different person now and I can't immerse myself the same way I was able back in the days. I don't want to say that the reason is how game looks. I'm perfectly fine with Silent Hill 2, with Silent Hill 1. I will be even fine if someone today will make a horror FPS game with the same level of graphics but modern physics, mechanics and how we used to playing nowadays. I don't ask for gunplay of, let's say, Apex Legends. I really like how guns work there. I want guns have more control and game to be more skill based maybe. I want slow time to be at least nerfed or removed entirely, cause it's total imbalance for mechanics developers introduced. I see it this way. Can I imagine AAA game like F.E.A.R in modern world? No, there are several reasons. First of all, the obvious one. Alma gave a birth to her first child when she was 15. I think you really need to be brave and not American studio to take into production this kind of a plot. Modern horror games are toothless, to say the least. Second game of this level in modern graphics, even if safe overall heavy asset reuse, will take huge amount of time to develop. And to improve the idea will be even more difficult. Yeah, some things like animations will be easier to make with modern tech. I think that F.E.A.R will stay one of the few iconic horror shooters ever created, and it's said that probably we won't see F.E.A.R 4. Technically, even F.E.A.R 3 wasn't created by Monolith, so doesn't count. And please, real fans of F.E.A.R, don't attack me for saying that F.E.A.R didn't become cult. I know that some people really like this game and I'm one of us, and I really enjoyed my time playing it. Surprise, Alma is alive. My theory is, without reading Wikipedia, that that's how she planned from the start. We released her, not Fatal, and that was the plot from the start, because our brother had no will to live. And we are actually a human being with willpower, and we are, well, we're more like a proper version of your son, let's say. So she got her freedom and us at the same time, and she made it out in the most perfect way possible, because all the evidence about her existence is destroyed. And the final question, will I revisit F.E.A.R 2? It is a Windows XP game as well, and I heard mixed stuff about it. Depends on your likes. Thanks for watching. Avoid Grand Pass.